Marcus wiped the sweat from his forehead as he navigated through the towering piles of twisted metal and broken machinery. The salvage yard stretched endlessly under the scorching afternoon sun, a graveyard of forgotten dreams and discarded technology. His boots crunched against rusted fragments as he searched for anything valuable enough to keep his small business afloat. The 28-year-old salvager had been working these yards for over a decade, ever since his father passed away and left him the struggling operation. Most days brought nothing but disappointment and empty pockets, but Marcus never gave up hope. Today felt different somehow, as if the universe was preparing to reveal something extraordinary. Deep in the most remote section of the yard, something caught his eye. Partially buried under decades of accumulated debris was what looked like a ship hull, but unlike anything he had ever seen. The metal had an unusual shimmer, almost organic in appearance, with smooth curves that seemed to flow. Like water frozen in time, Marcus began clearing away the scrap metal, his excitement growing with each piece he removed. The ship was larger than he initially thought, easily 30 feet long and perfectly preserved, despite being buried for who knows how long.
Ow.
Strange symbols were etched along its surface, glowing faintly with an inner light that made his skin tingle. As he worked to uncover more of the vessel, his hand accidentally brushed against what appeared to be a control panel. The moment his skin made contact, the entire ship hummed to life. Lights flickered along its hull, and a section of the smooth surface suddenly became transparent. Revealing the interior, Marcus stumbled backward in shock, his heart pounding as he stared at what lay inside. Through the transparent section, he could see a chamber filled with soft, pulsing light. And there, suspended in what looked like a crystalline pod, was a figure that made him question everything he thought he knew about the world. She was beautiful in a way that seemed impossible. Pale silver skin that seemed to glow from within. Her long, flowing hair moved gently as if underwater, and even in stasis, there was something peaceful about her expression. She was definitely not human, yet there was something familiar about her features that drew him in. The pod began to open with a soft hiss, releasing a mist that sparkled in the afternoon light. Marcus watched in amazement as the figure's eyes slowly opened, revealing depths of color he had never seen before. She looked directly at him, and in that moment, he felt his entire world shift. She sat up slowly, her movements graceful, despite what must have been a long sleep. When she spoke, her voice was like music, though he couldn't understand the words. She seemed as surprised to see him as he was to see her, her large eyes. Taking in his appearance with curiosity, rather than fear, Marcus raised his hands in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said softly, though he wasn't sure she could understand. "I'm Marcus. I found your ship." She tilted her head, studying him intently. Then she placed her hand over her heart and spoke a single word that sounded like Zara. Marcus smiled and repeated the gesture, saying his own name. It was a small beginning, but it was something understanding each other. Marcus helped Zara from the pod, supporting her weight as she took her first steps in what might have been decades. Her legs were unsteady, but her grip on his arm was surprisingly strong. She was taller than he expected, nearly matching his 6-foot height, and her presence seemed to fill the entire space around them. He gestured toward his workshop, a modest building at the edge of the salvage yard. "My place," he said, pointing to himself and then the building. Zara seemed to understand his meaning, nodding as she allowed him to guide her toward shelter. The walk took longer than usual as Zara stopped frequently to examine ordinary objects with intense curiosity. An old tire made her pause and run her fingers over its surface. A discarded circuit board captured her attention for several minutes as she studied its pathways with the focus of a scientist inside his workshop. Marcus cleared a space on his worn couch and helped Zara settle down. She looked around the cluttered room with interest, her gaze lingering on his collection of half-repaired devices and salvaged components. When her eyes met his again, there was something warmer in them, less of the initial shock and more of genuine curiosity. He brought her a glass of water, pantomiming drinking to show what it was. Zara accepted it carefully, sniffing delicately before taking a small sip. Her eyes widened in surprise, and she drank more eagerly. Marcus realized she must have been incredibly thirsty after her long sleep. Over the next few hours, they developed a basic system of communication through gestures and simple drawings. Marcus learned that Zara's people came from far away, beyond the stars. Through her careful sketches, she showed him images of a beautiful world with crystal cities and floating gardens, but also scenes of destruction and chaos. She drew pictures of ships fleeing through space, of her people scattered across the galaxy in search of new homes. Her drawings became more personal, showing what appeared to be her family, friends, and loved ones. When she drew herself alone in the pod, Marcus understood she had been separated from everyone she cared about. As evening approached, Marcus prepared a simple meal, sharing his food with this mysterious visitor. Zara examined each item carefully. Before tasting it, her expressions of surprise and delight making him smile despite the strangeness of the situation. When she smiled back, her whole face seemed to glow, and Marcus felt something stir in his chest that he hadn't experienced. In years, they sat together in comfortable silence as darkness fell outside. Zara appeared tired but reluctant to sleep, perhaps afraid that this new reality might disappear if she closed her eyes. Marcus understood that feeling all too well, brought her a blanket and pillow, making up a comfortable spot on the couch. Before settling down for the night, Zara approached him and placed her hand gently on his chest, right over his heart. She spoke softly in her musical language, and though he couldn't understand the words, the gratitude and warmth in her voice were unmistakable. She was thanking him for his kindness, for not being afraid, for giving her a chance. Marcus placed his own hand over hers, feeling the unusual warmth of her skin and the steady rhythm of her breathing. "You're welcome," he whispered, knowing she would understand the sentiment, even if not the words. As they prepared for sleep, Marcus couldn't help but wonder what tomorrow would bring for both of them. Growing connection days turned into weeks as Marcus and Zara developed their unique partnership. Each morning brought new discoveries as they worked together to understand both her ship's technology and each other's worlds. Marcus had moved the vessel to his private workshop, hidden from prying eyes and curious neighbors. Zara proved to be remarkably intelligent and adaptable. She quickly picked up basic English words and phrases, while Marcus learned simple concepts. In her language, their conversations became increasingly complex as they bridged the gap between their different worlds with patience and determination working on the ship. Together created an intimacy that transcended language barriers. Marcus would hand her tools, and she would guide his hands to show him how her technology functioned. Her touch was always gentle, but sure, and he found himself looking forward to these moments of connection more than he cared to admit. The ship's damage was extensive, but not irreparable. Zara's people had built their vessels to last, with self-repairing systems that could function even after decades of dormancy. However, certain critical components needed replacement, materials that didn't exist on Earth in their pure form. As they worked, Zara began sharing more about her past. Through a combination of words and drawings, she told him about her role as a scout for her people, searching for habitable worlds as their home planet faced an environmental catastrophe. She had been on her way to report back when her ship was caught in some kind of spatial anomaly. Marcus found himself captivated not just by her story, but by the way she told it. Her expressions were so vivid, her gestures so graceful, that he could almost see the events she described. When she spoke of her people's suffering, tears would glisten in her unusual eyes, and Marcus felt an overwhelming urge to comfort her. Their relationship deepened during quiet evening meals. When work was done, and they could simply enjoy each other's company, Marcus taught Zara about human customs and culture, while she shared stories of her world's art, music, and traditions. They discovered similarities that surprised them both, universal experiences that connected all thinking beings regardless of their origins. One evening, as they sat watching the sunset through his workshop window, Zara moved closer to him on the small couch. She had been practicing a particular English phrase all day, and now she spoke it carefully. "Marcus, good person." Zara grateful for Marcus's kindness. Her accent made the words sound like poetry, and Marcus felt his heart skip a beat.
Zara is.
Good person too, he replied, reaching out to gently touch her hand. I'm grateful too, for showing me that the universe is bigger and more wonderful than I ever imagined. She smiled at his words, understanding more than he might have expected. They sat in comfortable silence as the sky darkened, neither wanting to break the spell of the moment. Zara leaned against his shoulder, her warmth seeping through his shirt, and Marcus realized he was falling for someone who wasn't even from his world. When she looked up at him, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of her ship's lights, visible through the window, Marcus saw something there that made his breath catch. It was the same feeling he was experiencing, the same growing connection that defied logic and reason. Without speaking, they both understood that their partnership had become something much deeper and more complicated. The choice the ship was nearly ready to fly again, its systems humming with renewed life thanks to their combined efforts. Marcus had never been prouder of any repair job, but the success brought with it a bittersweet realization. Soon, Zara would be able to leave Earth and search for her people among the stars. They both avoided talking about it directly, but the unspoken question hung between them like a gathering storm. What would happen when the repairs were complete? Marcus had his life on Earth, his business, his responsibilities. Zara had her mission, her people who might still be out there somewhere, waiting for word from their scout. The tension came to a head one evening as they performed the final system checks. Everything was working perfectly, better than either of them had dared hope. The ship could launch whenever Zara chose, capable of sustaining her for months as she searched the galaxy for survivors of her people's exodus. Tomorrow, Zara said, quietly, her English much improved after weeks of practice. Tomorrow, ship ready to fly. Marcus nodded, unable to trust his voice. He had known this day would come, had been preparing himself for it, but the reality still hit him like a physical blow. Tomorrow, she would be gone, and his life would return to its previous routine of salvaging scrap and barely making ends meet. But it wasn't the return to his old life that bothered him. It was the thought of losing her, this remarkable woman, who had shown him wonders beyond his imagination and made him feel truly alive for the first time in years. I need to find them, Zara continued, her voice heavy with emotion. My people, they depend on scouts like me. If there are survivors, they need to know about safe worlds, safe places to build new homes. I understand, Marcus said, and he truly did? Her sense of duty was one of the things he admired most about her. Your people need you. Zara turned to face him fully, her eyes bright with unshed tears. But Marcus, she whispered, Zara needs Marcus too. The admission hung in the air between them, raw and honest. Marcus reached out to cup her face gently, his thumb brushing away a single tear that had escaped. And Marcus needs Zara, he replied, his voice barely audible. They came together then, all pretense and hesitation falling away. Their first kiss was tentative, almost afraid, but when she responded by pressing closer to him, Marcus felt as though his heart might burst from his chest. She tasted like starlight and possibilities. Like everything beautiful he had never dared to dream. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. Zara rested her forehead against his, her hands fisted in his shirt as if anchoring herself. To him, what do we do? She whispered. Marcus held her close, breathing in her unique scent that reminded him of ozone after a storm. I don't know, he admitted, but we have tonight. Let's not waste it thinking about tomorrow. They spent the night talking and holding each other, sharing fears and dreams, and the kind of intimate thoughts that only come in the darkness. As dawn approached, they would have to face the choice that would determine both their futures, but for now, they simply existed in their small bubble of happiness, pretending the rest of the universe could wait. New beginnings. Marcus woke to find Zara standing by the window, fully dressed and ready for departure. The ship outside was powered up and waiting, its soft hum a reminder that their time together was ending. His heart clenched as he watched her silhouette against the morning light. You're leaving, he said, not really a question. Zara turned to him, and he was surprised to see not sadness in her eyes, but something that looked almost like excitement. "Marcus," she said, her pronunciation of his name now perfect after weeks of practice. "I have idea. Dangerous idea, maybe. Crazy idea." She moved to sit beside him on the bed, taking his hands in hers. "What if Marcus comes with Zara? What if we search for my people together?" Marcus stared at her in shock. He had considered it during the long night, dreaming of adventures among the stars, but he had dismissed it as impossible fantasy. "Zara, I can't just leave everything behind. My business, my responsibilities." What responsibilities?" she asked gently. "Salvage yard full of broken things? Workshop where Marcus works alone every day? Marcus has gift for fixing things, for making broken things work again. My people need that gift. Universe needs that gift." He looked around at his modest workshop, at the life he had built from his father's legacy. It was comfortable, predictable, safe. But as he met Zara's hopeful gaze, he realized it was also small and limiting. With her, he could do something that truly mattered. Help refugees find new homes, use his skills to save lives instead of just making ends meet. "The ship isn't designed for two people long term," he said. But even as he spoke, he was already thinking of solutions. "We'd need to modify the life support, expand the living quarters, ... Zara's smile was radiant. "Marcus always finds a way to fix things. We make ship work for both of us." Over the next several hours, they redesigned sections of the vessel, combining human ingenuity with alien technology to create something unique. Marcus marveled at how naturally they worked together, each understanding what the other needed almost before they spoke. It was as if they had been partners for years instead of weeks. By afternoon, they had created a plan. The ship would serve as their base while they searched for Zara's people and helped other refugees they encountered along the way. Marcus's salvage skills would be invaluable for keeping their vessel running and helping repair other damaged ships they might find. As they prepared for their first journey together, Marcus felt an excitement he had never experienced before. The unknown stretched ahead of them, full of dangers and wonders in equal measure. But with Zara beside him, he felt ready for anything. "Marcus," Zara said as they performed their final system checks, "are you sure about leaving Earth?" Woman who had literally fallen from the stars into his life. "Earth will always be here," he said. "But this chance, this opportunity to explore the universe with you and help people who need it, this might never come again." She nodded, understanding the weight of his decision. As they sealed the ship and prepared for launch, Marcus realized he wasn't leaving his old life behind. He was expanding it beyond anything he had ever imagined possible. The ship rose smoothly into the evening sky, carrying them toward the stars and whatever adventures awaited. As Earth fell away below them, Marcus reached out and took Zara's hand. Together they had found something precious in that salvage yard, something worth more than any treasure. They had found each other, and now they would face the infinite possibilities of space as partners, lovers, and the best repair team the galaxy had ever seen. The stars welcomed them home,